So welcome. This is CAIE May-June 2019 0607 International Mathematics Paper 6 version 61. We shall try to solve two questions that are there. So we shall try to solve them. So coming to the first question. First question is about games in a competition. So we shall read this question carefully. This investigation looks at the number of games played in two kinds of competition. In a knockout competition, the first kind of competition is knockout competition. Each team plays a game against the other team. If that teams win these games, the team that wins these games play in the second round. The teams that win in the second round go to the third round and so on. So if at all they win in the first round, they go to the second round. If they win in the second round, they go to the third round and so on until unless they go to the finals and win the total tournament or the competition. So there are two teams in the last round that play final, and in the semi-finals, four teams will be there. The round before the final is called semi-finals. The round before the semi-finals is called as quarter-finals. Write down the number of teams in the quarter-finals. So what is that? So let us erase and write neatly. So in finals, one team will be playing with the other team. So there are how many total teams in the finals? Two teams. Now, in the semi-finals, this one team would have been result of a game between two other teams. Maybe one, so I can write like this, two. And this one team would have been the winner of another game between team number 3 and team number 4. So in semi-finals, there would have been four teams. So two teams will play with semi-final 1, there goes the winner, and two other teams will play the semi-final 2, and there goes the winner. So those two winners will be playing the finals. Now coming to the quarterfinals. So this one team would have been the winner between team number 1, team number 2. The second team would have been the winner between team number 3 and team number 4. This third team would have been the winner between team number 4, 5 and 6. Fourth one would have been between 7 and 8. So in total we can see that quarterfinals is being played between 8 teams. 8 teams are required. So quarterfinal 1, quarterfinal 2, quarterfinal 3, quarterfinal 4. This will give 4 teams which will play semi-final 1, semi-final 2, and there will be only one finals which will be played within 2 teams. So we can see the number of teams required in quarterfinals is 8 teams. There are 32 teams in the competition. Find the number of rounds. So we know that 32 teams. So if there are 2 teams, they play the finals, and that is 1 versus 1. Now if there are 4 teams, they play semi-finals. It is 2 teams versus 2 teams. If there are 8 teams, they play quarterfinals, which is 4 teams versus 4 teams. If you can see the pattern, 2 becomes 4, 4 became 8, 8 becomes 16. So pre-quarterfinals, basically we call it as pre-quarterfinals, no need to name them. So there's 8 teams versus 8 teams. Now the double of it, 8 became 16, 16 became 32. So we want 32. So it would have been 16 teams versus 16 teams. So how many rounds? So we can see that this is the first round, this is the second round, this is the third round, this is the fourth round, and the fifth round. So how many rounds? 5 rounds. There are 7 rounds in the competition. Find the number of teams. 7 rounds. Just now we got 5 rounds. So what am I going to do? I'm going to copy this 5 rounds. Copy this 5 rounds. But I want 7 rounds. So this should be my 7th round. This should be my 6th round. This should be my 5th round, a 4th round, 3rd round. So we can see that there were 2 teams over here. There were 4 teams over here. There were 8 teams over here. There were 16 teams over here. There were 32 teams over here. So we can see the pattern. It's getting double, power of 2. So it should be 64 teams which will be playing the second round. We are going the numbers 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 32 teams versus 32 teams, second round. And these 64 teams would have been there. Now, one more round, 128. 64 times 2 is 128. They would have played the first round, 64 teams versus 64 teams. And I get 64 winners. They go to the second round. Those 64 winners are divided into 32. So 32 versus 32 and so on. So we get it at 7 rounds. So in this way, so how many teams are required? 128 teams are required. So we can see the pattern. 2 teams play 1 round, then 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 becomes 32, 32 becomes 64, and 64 becomes 128. Can we see are there 7 rounds or not? This is a 1 round, this is the 7th round, 6th round, 5th round, 4th round, 3rd round, 2nd round, and the first round is itself is 128. So or else what we can do it out is like this also, if at all you get confused. These 2 teams are there, they play the 7th round to get the winner, ultimate winner. 4 teams will play the 6th round. This is 5th round. This is 4th round, 3rd round, 2nd round, 1st round. So therefore 128. So we can see that it is 2 power 2, 2 power 3, 2 power 4, 2 power 5, 2 power 6, 2 power 7. So, but we are not supposed to write in the 2 powers. So erase them and write it as 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. Find the formula for T, the number of teams in terms of R to the number of rounds. So we can see that just now we have discussed it is 2 power 2. So it's going to be 2 power R. Use your formula to calculate the number of teams in the competition with 15 rounds. It's going to be 2 power 15, which is nothing but what? 32,768. The number of teams in a knockout competition should be the number in the sequence. So number of the teams should be 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. It should be the number of, this should be the number of teams. Any another number is not possible. The number 11 is not in the sequence. We can see that 11 is not in the sequence. Then what they do, when there are 11 teams, the first round is played to reduce the number of teams to 8. Why only 8? We can see that 11 comes between 8 and 16. So the nearest and the smallest number is 8. So they try to make it down to 8 teams. So how do they make it down to 8 teams? In the first round, only 6 teams play, giving 3 winners. So 11 teams are there. So they want to make 8. So they have to take 3 teams. So they pick 3 teams. In order to make these 3 teams to play, they should pick another 3 teams. So 3 versus 3, 6 teams have been taken out. So out of this, I get 3 winners. Then we know that total 11 is there. 11 minus 6 gives me 5. So remaining 5 people go directly to the second round without playing the first round. So 3 plus 5 is going to be nothing but what? 8 teams. So there will be 8 teams in the second round. Now there are 25 teams in the knockout competition. Find the number of rounds. So what do I have now? 25 teams. Now check it out. Is 25 is there in the sequence? No, it is there between 16 and 32. So the nearest and the smallest number is going to be 16. So I have to make these 25 teams into 16. So what is the difference? 9. So I have to pick up 9 teams. 9 versus to play with these 9 teams, another 9 teams have to be picked up. So totally 9 plus 9 is nothing but what? 18. 25 minus 18 is nothing but what? 7. So these 7 teams will directly go to the second round. So these 9 teams will have 9 winners plus 7. So totally I will be having 16 teams. So when I have 16 teams, how many rounds of the game is being played? So what should I do? If I have 2 teams, 1 versus 1, 2 teams, first round, then 2 becomes 4 for 2 versus 2, and 4 becomes 8 for 4 versus 4, and 8 teams become 16, which becomes 8 versus 8. So how many rounds is there? So how many number of rounds are being required? We can see that this is first round, second round, third round, fourth round, and the one round between 9 teams versus 9 teams, because originally there were 25 and we have to make down them to 16. So for that, one round is being played with 9 teams versus 9 teams. So totally 4 plus 1 is nothing but what? 5. 5 rounds. This 4 you can directly get it out from the table. When there are 16 teams, number of rounds is 4. But then also I try to make you to understand again by doing the chart. Find the total number of games. Find the total number of games. So because the reason is it will be useful for this total number of games. So I pull this one, copy and paste over here. So we can see that here one game is being played, here two games are being played, here four games are being played, and over here 8 games are being played. And don't forget, over here 9 games are being played. So because 9 teams versus 9 teams, to reduce 25 teams to 16. So 9 plus 8 is 17, 17 plus 4 is 21, 21 plus 2 is 23, 23 plus 1 is 24. So how many games are being played? 24 games are being played. Now to the next one. This has been hiding over here. Find the total number of games when there are 36 teams. If you see in the question paper, this is 36 teams. So or else what I will do is I'll go back and paste this one so that it is visible. So again I get back this. So we can see that one game is played over here, two games is played over here, four games is played over here, 8 games is played over here, 9 games from here. So totally 24 games are being played. 9 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. Now coming to the next part of the question, he is asking that find the total number of games when there are 36 teams. When there are 36 teams. So is 36 is in the table? Let us check. 36 is in the table? No. 36 is between 32 and 64 and the nearest and the least is 32. So 36 has to be reduced to 32. So how many is that? 4. So I pick up 4 teams. To play against these 4 teams, I require one more 4 teams. So 4 plus 4 is 8. 36 minus 8, which is 28. So 4 winners from here, 28 from here. So totally I get 32 teams. Now, total number of games when there are 32 teams are being played. So what we do? We same pattern, 1 versus 1 when 2 teams are there, 2 versus 2 when there are 4 teams, 4 versus 4 when there are 8 teams, 8 versus 8 when there are 16 teams, 16 versus 16 when there are 32 teams. So how many games are being played? So what can I do over here? 16 games over here, 8 games over here, 4 games over here, 2 games over here, 1 game over here, and don't forget to add this 4 versus 4, 4 games over there. So when I add all this, 4 plus 16 is 20, 28, 32, 34, 35. You can see it is 35. So we can see the pattern that when there are 25 teams, the number of games is 24 teams and games. When there were 36 teams, the number of teams in games is 35. So find the connection between the number of teams and number of games. It is always one less. So number of teams is equal to number of teams is equal to number of games. So rather than writing like that, we should be writing number of games. Number of teams doesn't make sense. So number of games is equal to, because teams is decided first. So number of teams minus 1. So teams minus 1 gives you the games, because we cannot take games and then decide the teams. So first teams are decided, then you subtract 1 from that, number of games are decided. So number of games is equal to number of teams minus 1. In a league competition, every team must play each of the other team once. There are 3 teams A, B, and C in the competition. 3 different games have been played: A against B, A against C, B against C, A, B, A, C, B, C. Complete the following table. So when there are 4 teams, A, B, C, D. So it can be AB, AC, AD, BC, BD, and CD. So you can see that it is 6 ways. So we can see the pattern. 1, 2 has been increased, 3 has been increased. So next it will be 4, it will be increased. Next it will be 5 will be increased. Next time it will be 6 will be increased, and 21, and next time 7 will be increased. So that's a pattern. When there are n teams in the competition, the number of games played is G, where G is equal to AN square plus BN. Find the value of A and the value of B. Write down your formula. So N is the number of teams and G is the games played. So I'm going to take this one, 1 and 2. G as 1, N is 2. So 1 is equal to A times 2 square plus B times 2. So this gives me 4A plus 2B is equal to 1. I take another one, 3 and 3. 3 is equal to A times 3 square plus B times 3. 9A plus 3B is equal to 3. So I multiply the first equation with 3. So it becomes 12A plus 6B is equal to 3. Second equation with 2. 18A plus 6B is equal to 6. Subtract. Minus 6A is equal to minus 3. So A equal to 1 upon 2. Plug in A equal to 1 upon 2. 2 plus 2B equal to 1. 2B equal to negative 1. B equal to negative 1 upon 2. So what will be the formula now? A is 1 upon 2. So n square 1 upon 2. B is 1 upon minus 1 upon 2 n. Show that the formula of the part B gives the correct result for 8 teams. So number of games should be equal to 1 upon 2 times 8 teams, 8 whole square minus 1 upon 2 times 8. So this is 64 upon 2 minus 4, 8 upon 2 is 4, which is 32 minus 4, which is 28. So we should get 28 when there are 8 teams. Are we getting 28? Yes, that's going to be the correct answer. There are 8 teams A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Every team plays 1 game each week. Note that AB is same as BA. Complete the table. So A and B has been played, DG has been played, CH has been played. So what am I left over with? EF. So EF in the week 1. Now coming to week 2. AC has been played. So next I take BD. BD has been played. Next I take EH. EH has been played. So FG is left over. Now I go to week 3. AD I choose. Any 2 teams you can choose. AD. Then BC I choose. Then EG I choose, so that they don't repeat. Finally, FH has been chosen. There are multiple answers for this question. You can do in any one of the way. They say you need to show only one way. There are multiple answers. We have shown only one of the way. Now, there are more than 2 teams in each competition. It is possible to have same number of games. Same number of games in both knockout and league. Knockout and league. Knockout is nothing but what we have, n minus 1. League is nothing but what? 1 upon 2n square, 1 upon 2n. They should be the same. So n minus 1 is equal to, take 1 upon 2n common, n minus 1. So what does that becomes? N minus 1 gets cancels. 1 equals to n upon 2, n is equal to 2. So number of teams in knockout should be 2. Number of teams in league also to be 2. So the number of games they played is going to be 1. When there are only 2 teams, they play only 1 game. Coming to the B part, it is possible to have half the number of games in the knockout competition, as in the league competition. So what does it mean? Knockout competition is equal to league competition upon 2. Knockout competition, just now we got n minus 1. League competition is half times n minus 1 upon 2. So what can I do from there? N minus 1 gets cancels. 1 is equal to is n times n minus 1 upon 2. 1 is equal to n upon 4. So n is equal to nothing but what? 4. So number of teams, n is number of teams, which is 4. So number of games in a knockout and number of games in the league. So we can go back, cross check. In the league, whenever it is 4, it is 6. In the knockout, whenever it is 4, we don't, whenever it is 4 teams. So we try to do that. So in the league, it's going to be 6. Obviously, knockout, it will be half of that one, 3. Then also we prove it out. There are 4 teams. 4 teams means 2 versus 2. So 2 games are being played. 1 winner from here, 1 winner from here. So 1 game will be played. So totally 3 games will be played. Or else 6, half of 6 is 3. We can write like that also. That completes part A. Part B, modeling question, throwing stones. You are advised to spend no more than 45 minutes on this part. This part looks at the modeling of the path of a stone thrown from a vertical cliff onto horizontal ground. A stone is thrown horizontally from the top of the cliff at a height h meters above the horizontal ground. The model of its height h meters at a time t seconds is h is equal to h minus capital H minus 4.9 t square. Charlie stands on the top of the cliff. He throws a stone horizontally at a height of 122.5 meters above the horizontal ground. He throws a stone horizontally at a height of 122.5 above the ground. Write down the model of this search, means the initial one. Initially, he is standing. Initially means at t is equal to 0. So what is the height? 122.5 is equal to h minus 4.9 times t square. So h is equal to nothing but what? 122.5. So what will be the formula now? Small h is equal to 122.5 minus 4.9 t square. So initially he's standing at a height of 122.5. So we can directly take the h value as 122.5. Now sketch the model between 0 to 5. So I take the graphing calculator. So it is 122.5 minus 4.9 x square. But change the axis. Axis is from 0 to 5 and y-axis is maybe from 0 to 130. 122.5, so I take 130. So you can see just this point is 5 comma 0 and this point is 0 comma 122.5. So what you can do it out is you can go back and join over here. So this is 122.5. So this should be the approximate graph. So next one, write down the number of seconds that the stone takes to hit the ground when it is hitting the ground at 5 seconds. So number of seconds is going to be 5. Now a stone is thrown horizontally with a speed v from the top of the cliff. At the time t seconds, the stone is x meters from the cliff. This is x meters. A model of the horizontal distance is equal to x is equal to vt. Write down the units of v. X is in meters, v units we don't know, t is in seconds. So v units will be nothing but what? Meters per second. So basically it is a velocity. Velocity units is meter per second. When Charlie throws a stone, v equal to 20, find the value of x. So x equals to v is 20, time is 5 seconds. So it is going to be 20 times 500. When v is equal to 20, use the models in part A and part B to show that. So we know that h equals to 122.5 minus 4.9 t square. So we know that x is equal to vt, x is equal to 20t, so t equal to x upon 20. So 122.5 minus 4.9 x upon 20 whole square. So h equals to 122.5 minus 4.9 x square upon 400. Multiply entire thing equation with 400. 400h is equal to, so what am I doing? I'm multiplying the entire equation with 400. So 400 is equal to 49,000 minus 4.9 x square. That's what asking us to prove. Sketch the graph. Now go back to the graphing calculator or GDC and sketch this graph. So which is 122.5 minus 4.9 x square divided by 400. So I draw this graph. So again, it is between 0 to 100. So x values are from 0 to 100. Then y values we may take from 0 to 130 will be sufficient enough. I erase this graph. So you can see that it's 0 to 100, 100, 0 and 122.5. So I go back and draw the diagram or graph. So we have to be very much careful touching at 100 and 122.5. Now Belinda stands on the ledge of the cliff. She throws with a speed of 28.3. Her model is 61.25 minus 4.9 x squared by 800. Write down the height from which Belinda is thrown her stone. So it is directly from the question 61.25. On the axis of 6e2, sketch the graph. So on this graph only 61 points. So she should start from 61.25. We need to know how to draw the graph. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take another one, which is 61.25 minus 4.9 x square divided by 800. So I check, it is same 0, 61.25 and again it hits at 100 only. So draw the graph from the, we draw in a different color, maybe green color over here. Now using this model in 6D, what is 6D? The model of 6D was x is equal to vt. Calculate the time. She is throwing a distance of 100 and with a velocity of 28.3. If we remember, we see that the velocity was 28.3 time. So time is equal to 100 divided by 28.3, which is 3.53. Now question number 8. Jaden is standing next to Charlie and Mackenzie is standing next to Belinda. Jaden throws with a horizontally towards a point which is 50 meters horizontal from the base of the cliff. So x is equal to 50. The model is given by this one. What is the height? So h, small h is equal to 0. we think that it is reaches the height, so small h is equal to 0. It reaches the ground, right? So small h should be equal to 0. 122.5 minus 4.9 k, x was 50. When it is 50, the height is going to be 0 because there is no more height. A whole square when it reaches the ground and reaches a height of 50. So reaches a total distance of 50, the height is going to be 0. So from there, I can get the value of k. So 122.5 is equal to 4.9 times k squared times 2500 times 16 squared is 256. From here, I directly write it out. K square value is 2.56. K value is square root of 2.56 is 1.6. Find the horizontal distance from the cliff where Jaden Stones crosses the path of Belinda. So what am I going to do? I am going to draw the graph. This was Belinda's graph, if we remember, 61.25, and it was hitting at 100. Now we are going to draw the Jaden's graph. 122.5 starts from. So when we check it out, where does it intersect? So go back there. 122.5 minus Jaden's 1, 4.9. I'm not simplifying it out. K square times k square is 2.56. 2.56 x square divided by 256. I know that 2.56 divided by 256 can be simplified, but wantedly I'm not simplifying. I'm keeping it as simple as possible. Now you can see the purple color one is Jaden. Where do they meet? They meet at 37.7. So it is shorter and meets at 50. So I go back over here and it is shorter and meets at 50. So I use the same purple color maybe. So over here. So this point is 37.7 and this point is 50. So where do they meet? At 37.7. At what distance? The horizontal distance. X value is 37.7. Belinda's stone does not hit the point. Use the model for the height of Belinda's stone in question 7 to calculate how far down the cliff she should move so that when she throws her stone, it hits the point. It should hit the point. So what height should it stand? So h is equal to 61.25 minus 4.9 x square upon 800. Now it should hit, so it should be at a horizontal distance of 50. So we calculate what height she should stand. 61.25 minus 4.9, 50 square upon 800. Simplify that, 45.937. So if at all she is standing from a height of 45.937, it will be hitting it out the horizontal distance of 50. Final question. Mackenzie throws a stone horizontally and hits the point. What is the speed? X is equal to Vt. He throws the distance of 50 and hits the point. So time. Where is Mackenzie standing? When we roll up and see, Mackenzie standing next to Belinda. So Belinda's time. What was Belinda's time? If we go and check it out, Belinda's time was 3.53. So time is 3.53. So velocity will be 50 divided by 3.53, which is 14.1 seconds. That's all. That completes the paper. See you in the next paper. Bye.